Tuesday, February 28th.
You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm.
For the seventh consecutive week, a powerhouse storm moves from the southern plains across the Midwest. This one is coming from the West Coast once again, and this was a significant storm, even while on the West Coast, or not even, but it was, and it moves across the Southwest desert, moves into the southern plains, and it's going to be tracking across the Ohio Valley. Usually these types of storms brings approximately 3 to 6 inches of snow in the Chicago area if Chicago is within the vicinity of the storm. Currently, amazingly, both the European and the GFS have the Chicago area set up for receiving close to a foot. The European actually has much of the Chicago area getting above a foot, perhaps even closer to places like Kenosha, Illinois, receiving 15 inches of snow. But again, climatologically speaking, these storms usually end up bringing between 3 to 6 inches of snow to the Chicago area, producing 6 to 12 inches in the bullseye. Chicago ends up either a little bit to the north or usually a little bit to the south, and some of the precipitation mixes with rain, and Chicago ends up getting 3 to 6 inches. There's tons of exceptions to that. And if you look at the wind gusts, this is Friday afternoon into Friday evening. This is a very, very exciting moment for us folks that live here in Chicago. If this should materialize, even if it doesn't materialize, just looking at the map is extremely exciting. And we also have all of the other fun stuff going on with this storm, the severe weather outbreak, the unseasonably warm temperatures that are being drawn into the system on the southeast portions. Tons of moisture coming from the Gulf of Mexico. I believe we have Pacific moisture in here as well, along with Atlantic Ocean moisture. This storm system is going to eventually move into New England, bringing heavy snow to places. At this point, the heavy snow might be staying west of Boston, but there's a secondary area of low pressure that will be developing along the East Coast, and this is a classic type of a situation. Usually those things develop off the coast of North Carolina, and if it does so, those types of things many times include Baltimore within the snow band. As of right now, all the models take the system further to the north. We have the low pressure system developing just south of Long Island, but the possibility does exist for this storm to develop further south. We have a blocking high over the Greenland area that's been a rarity for this year, that's going to supply the East Coast with cold air on the backside. It's this high pressure over southeast Canada that's going to be key in determining if this low pressure system becomes suppressed to the south. It's a little bit more complicated at this point because of the low pressure that's developing off the coast. Branson, Missouri will also have to deal with this storm system. The cold air initially is not in the storm system, so initially the precipitation is mostly a rain event, but there's lots of rain with it, and we're going to wait and see. Warm temperatures return after the storm. High pressure builds in the southeast portions of the United States, pumps south winds across much of this country east of the Rocky Mountains. We have today, by the way, today is the winter storm for the New England area in New York, with 5 to 12 inches expected in the bullseye. That's today. It's ongoing as we speak. Gosh. That was storm number 1 we spoke about on Sunday. Storm number 2 comes up this coming Friday. You have been listening to the podcast Weather with Enthusiasm. Just Google Weather with Enthusiasm and they're all going to come up.